in most cases, when men retire and stop working, they usually die early. That's that immediately happens. Now I'm gonna answer the question. This just seems like we're overcomplicating dating.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't understand why we keep adding on all this these different things, and it's overcomplicating something that is so simple. We are literally uh people that naturally interact with each other. It shouldn't be this difficult for you to find one person for you to spend the rest of your days with. So all of these complications that they're adding, all these new words that they're throwing on, this is literally doing nothing but confusing people, because this shit sounds confusing as hell. It doesn't have to be this difficult. And I'm gonna land it there.
I just wanted to comment on the video because that was a little concerning. I feel like Tracy is how old? 56? I don't
52.
even know.
52.
And I always thought she was a lesbian. That's why she don't have I don't know why she keep acting like she like men. That's weird. And it's definitely agenda driven because Roe versus Wade, what does Roe versus Wade have to do with the dating pool? Her and Michelle kept throwing it in there, and I kept saying, what does that have to do with dating? She was literally pushing an agenda. She was talking in circles. It was a lot of word vomit that didn't have nothing to do with it. She was talking about reproductive rights as it pertains to dating. So essentially, what she was trying to say is don't date a man if he's going with the right, because that's what is given to me. That has nothing to do with the dating pool. She's pushing an agenda. I agree with Kalal. Women do not want to work. Yes, hooray, we have all these achievements. I haven't met a man that cared. I feel like women do this thing where we are competing with each other at this point because these men don't care. Black women are literally walking around screaming to the top of their lungs that we are the most educated woman. What does that have to do with you finding a husband and creating a family and creating a lineage and creating generations to come? The conversation that they were having does not push the agenda that I am pushing towards. I don't care about Roe versus Wade. I don't care about reproductive rights. I don't know why they were talking about that. I feel like she was being very disingenuous. She's old and she doesn't have a man by choice because she chose her career. She's an individualist, and that's fine. Some women are. Some women choose achievements over emotional stability and family, and that's okay. I just don't happen to be one of them, and I just feel like she was pushing an agenda, and the conversation was meaningless and pointless. Like I guess they trying to get us on their side, before the next election. They trying to rally women up. I don't know what they're doing, but it made absolutely no sense.
I do got another question I'm going to pose right now. Why do we still think choosing yourself means rejecting love? Go ahead, True.
Man, shout out to Aisha, man, and her wife energy she's spewing on this panel. I appreciate that. Shout out to Aisha. Can I answer the other question, JR, before we segue?
Yeah, you can answer it, but just kind of segue into this one. I do want to kind of keep it moving,
For sure,
so we're not going around.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, what Tracy Ellis Ross said was nonsense. The narrative is just ridiculous on so many fronts. This same lady 2 years ago was begging for men to take her out on dates 2 years ago. And now she's talking about she's in a different position. Dating is a new phenomenon. We act like the world that we know as humanity has been doing this thing that we're doing now. It hasn't been. Dating started somewhere in the 1920s. Most of the time, people courted, got married. Women have not been victimized in mass. Women have not been taken advantage of in mass. And pumping, like Coel keeps saying, propaganda, like the fact that you guys have jobs and can own property. Coco Chanel started a fashion house in the early part of the century. Pre-World War II, if I'm not mistaken. She's a woman. So this narrative is nonsense. I think women sometimes come up with these copes to try to make themselves feel better for their crappy choices, because either they weren't chosen, they didn't choose properly, a series of things. That's how I feel about that. In the new question, I don't know where it went, JR. It disappeared. How do we still choose yourself?
This one right here.
I think that why do we still think choosing yourself means rejecting love? I think en masse, most of the women nowadays are being raised in fear and not faith. I think that they're being raised not to lean into a village, because there is no village. Women have never chosen their own mates. But what's happening is because we've dismantled the family unit and we have no tribes. We got, women choosing what they believe is proper. The fact that I heard on the panel even tonight that a formidable partner would mean that he matches you economically is concerning. And that type of mindset is what I think is making everything kind of dissolve and decay, because no woman has ever been judged on her ability to generate resources or children or have a certain household, nor has any man solely been judged on his ability to earn resources, especially in a modern time. So I think that there's just a lot of conflating messaging, and I'll end it there.
All right. Let's go ahead and get Louisa mistaken in there. Why do you still think choosing yourself means rejecting love?
I mean, I think it's just people who haven't really come to the realization that they don't really love themselves. They haven't really reflected or done the things that they need to do to really love themselves first before accepting love. Um, Unfortunately, we have a lot of people out here who are still hurting. We have a lot of loveless, situations out here. I mean, if you think about it, like, are we really in a loving society at the moment? I think we're in a very lustful society. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything you see from the commercials to movies to TV shows, shit, yeah, I even say the cartoons. Nothing about it is loving. It's very lustful, in its sort of portrayal in marketing. But I think that ability, and I think a lot of people grew up without it, without seeing it, what it looks like. So I don't know if it's necessarily them rejecting love, or they just never seen a healthy version of it for them to embrace it in a fruitful way. Like you.
All right. Mistaken. Are women who don't need a man